movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. All right, so how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the African History Network show. It's Sunday, September 12th, 2021, and we are live. So I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, and Roland talked about, we had a good show Friday, but he talked about Megyn Kelly that used to be on Fox News, and then she went to NBC News, and she went to NBC, and Megyn Kelly has a history of making idiotic, racially insensitive remarks previously. Well, Megyn Kelly on her podcast talked about we know the new season of the NFL started this past Thursday, September 9th, and the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, is being performed at NFL games this season. The NFL announced that this past summer. And this is part of their initiative to focus on social injustice. The NFL is going to invest $250 million over the next 10 years dealing with fighting for social justice initiatives. And a lot of this came out of the protests spearheaded by Colin Kaepernick, which is why I'm wearing my Colin Kaepernick shirt. That's why I'm wearing my Colin Kaepernick shirt right now, because I don't watch the NFL at all. Not even the Super Bowl or the Sucker Bowl, as some people call it. So she made some negative remarks slamming the Black National Anthem being performed at the NFL games. Okay. But then also Bill Maher on his show this week on HBO that I don't watch. Real Time with Bill Maher. He made some negative comments as well. He criticized the NFL for playing the Black National Anthem. Now, his comments were a little different than Megyn Kelly's. Both are very tone deaf. And show that they don't understand history. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Now, on my show Friday, we dealt with this Friday. I talked about Megyn Kelly's comments on Friday, but not Bill Maher's comments. I didn't have a chance to talk about Bill Maher's comments. There's a good article from thehill.com that deals with Bill Maher's comments. So go back and watch the show Friday. People have been watching it on YouTube and Facebook. My show from Friday, September 10th. And we're going to re-air that on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, after this show is over with. Today, we're going to re-air that show from Friday. So be sure to follow me on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. So we're going to... what I did Friday was I dealt with some of the history of Francis Scott Key. Francis Scott Key is the white supremacist slave owner who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, September 13th, 1814. He wrote it during the War of 1812. He called it, originally, it wasn't called the Star-Spangled Banner. Originally, it was called the Defense of Fort McHenry, And it took place during the War of 1812, and he was witnessing an attack by the British on Baltimore and on Fort McHenry in Baltimore, the Baltimore area. So what we're going to do today, we'll talk some about the history of Francis Scott Key. He was a white supremacist slave owner. He thought that African people were inferior and mentally inferior. He used his position as district attorney to Washington, D.C. from 1833 to 1840 to attack abolitionists. One abolitionist named Reuben Crandall, he tried to have Reuben Crandall executed. And Reuben Crandall's crime was being caught with abolitionist material. This is the man that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, if you watch my show, if you've seen any of my lectures, you know I refer to it as the white national anthem. The white national anthem. because it was written by white people for white people about white people. It was written by a white supremacist slave owner. Some people say, now let me back up for a minute. What I say may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard it before, disagree with it, or don't like it, does not mean it's not true. It just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about. I'm dealing with something outside of the circumference of your own awareness. So we'll talk some about Francis Scott Key, but also, more importantly, we'll talk about James Weldon Johnson. Who was James Weldon Johnson? James Weldon Johnson was the African-American man that wrote the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing. He wrote it in 1899. Now, he did not write it for it to become a Black national anthem. It was adopted later as the Black national anthem a few years later after it was written. It's adopted by the NAACP, and it's become the Black national anthem. The reason why we needed a Black national anthem is because we knew the white national anthem was not for us. And when you understand this history, you'll understand why. Now, as I said on my show Friday, there needs to be a new national anthem that is more inclusive of all of the different races and ethnicities here in the U.S. There needs to be a new national anthem written. And Bill Maher said something to that effect as well, okay, on his show on HBO. But we have to understand the reason why we needed a Black national anthem because we knew the white national anthem was not for us. All right, so we'll discuss that. Then, so we'll do some of the history of James Weldon Johnson. We'll continue to talk some about Francis Scott Key as well. Then we'll also discuss, because there's some topics we didn't get a chance to talk about on Friday. The statue of Robert E. Lee in Richmond, Virginia was removed. We talked about this earlier in the week. The statue of Robert E. Lee in Richmond, Virginia was removed this past week. It's a 21-foot statue of, speaking of another white supremacist, Robert E. Lee. Okay. And this ties into the history of the Civil War. Robert E. Lee was a slave owner also. But what's interesting about Robert E. Lee is that Robert E. Lee did not want Confederate monuments and did not want statues to the Confederacy after the Civil War ended. He didn't even want statues dedicated to him. He didn't even want statues of himself. So he would have been against the statue of him in Richmond, Virginia. So a lot of these people who want to hold on to the memories of the Confederacy, and they're operating based upon a lie, and they're supporting traitors to the Union who took up arms against the Union, like the insurrection is January 6th. Some of them are related. The insurrection January 6th by those domestic terrorists is a continuation of the white on white violence that we saw during the Civil War, which was domestic terrorism as well. And these were traitors to the Union who committed treason based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, which is why they needed to have a blanket pardon issued by President Andrew Johnson after Lincoln was assassinated. Andrew Johnson gives a blanket pardon to the traitors. So we'll talk about this, but the statue of Robert E. Lee was removed. Some people were happy, some people were sad, but more interesting is that it was removed by an African-American company, okay? And the owner of the company, his name is Devin Henry. I got to speak to him when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday because he was a panelist he was a guest on Roland Martin Unfiltered, okay? So we're going to share an excerpt of that interview. It just so happens he's a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, my fraternity. Just so happens he's a member. And then also James Weldon Johnson, who wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. Just so happens he's a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated as well. All right, so I didn't plan it like that, but we'll we're going to talk some about James Weldon Johnson, deal with that history of Lift Every Voice and Sing, why it was written in 1899. And we'll also talk a little bit about James Weldon Johnson and the Silent March of 1917, the Silent March of 1917 that James Weldon Johnson organized as a member of the NAACP to protest against lynchings in the U.S. And there were 10,000 African Americans marching down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, and they were demanding federal anti-lynching laws, and we're still demanding a federal anti-lynching law. Now, okay, so we're still demanding a federal anti-lynching law. It was blocked in 2020. The bill was blocked in 2020 in the U.S. Senate by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, who needs to be voted out of office. Okay, he's the one that blocked it. It was named the Emmett Till bill. It was named after Emmett Till, and he blocked it. He objected to the bill being named after Emmett Till. So Rand Paul's an idiot. He needs to be voted out of office. Elections have consequences. So we'll discuss that. Then, also in our second hour, we're going to be joined by Demond Petty, organizer of the Detroit Second Annual African Cultural Festival. The Detroit Second Annual African Cultural Festival is coming up Friday, September 17th, Saturday, September 18th, 2021. And we got some information about that. It's a good event, good cultural event, good family-oriented event coming up here in Detroit. And I'll be speaking at the festival on Saturday. Okay, so we'll have information about that as well. It's going to be at Maher Park on Avondale. All right, so we'll talk about that as well. And then I think we talked about this Friday. Was it Thursday? I think we talked about this Thursday on the show, or Friday. All my days are running together. I don't know. I think we talked about it. I'm here 6 days a week and teaching 2 classes on the weekend. And it's about to be 4 classes on the weekend. But anyway, we know that Joe Biden announced his vaccine and testing mandate. Vaccine mandate for federal employees, vaccine or testing mandate for employees of companies that have 100 employees or more. And some people putting out videos on social media before he even did his address, just based upon press releases and things like that. But then you have Republicans saying they're going to sue and things, et cetera, and talking about individual rights and things like this. Now, some of these same Republicans didn't have a problem violating women's individual rights in Texas when it comes to that idiotic abortion law that Governor Greg Abbott signed, that dumbass Governor Greg Abbott signed. Those are constitutional rights based upon Roe versus Wade. So they didn't have a problem with taking that away. Then Governor Greg Abbott says that his goal is to eliminate eliminate rape. He said his goal is to eliminate rape. Now, I've never heard Governor Greg Abbott say that they were going to eliminate rape before in Texas. I want to know what are you going to do? You're just going to go around just lock up a bunch of men? The other thing is, so they got this $10,000 bounty with this idiotic bill out of Texas. It's $10,000 bounty, and it empowers people to challenge people and who help with abortions, things like this, right? Now, are you gonna put a $10,000 bounty on the heads of men who get women pregnant, who then get abortions? You gonna hold the men accountable too, or just the women? We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in a few minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. All right, where is this? Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Stand by.
Some history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism means. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. 910, the Superstation, the oldest radio station in town since 1922.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, September 12th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, now, right before the break, I was giving a rundown of the topics for today's show. I just sent you an email, Ed. I was having a problem with Microsoft Word with the rundown sheet. I just sent you an email. Go ahead and cue clip number 1 up, please, from Megyn Kelly. And you know what? I need to see if I sent you the Bill Maher clip also. Yeah, the Bill Maher clip. I need to send you the Bill Maher clip also. Okay. So right before the break, we was giving a rundown of the topics for today. And I was talking about the vaccine and or testing mandate that President Joe Biden announced. We talked about this here on the show. Now, you have a lot of people who are talking about presidential overreach or government overreach, things like that, right? So there is a 1905 U.S. Supreme Court case that actually backs up the legal foundation of the Joe Biden's argument. And most legal experts are saying that he is on strong legal footing. There's a good article from businessinsider.com that deals with how a Supreme Court decision from 1905 set the stage for vaccine mandates. And this goes back to smallpox. So we'll talk some about that as well. All right. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or a woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here. On the African History Network show, we deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, the 22828. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, the 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Sign up for our email newsletter there as well. All right. Yeah, that's Jalen. I'm sorry. Our board op tonight is Jalen. I think I said Ed. I had 3 board ops. We have Shakita, we have Ed on Friday, and then Jalen on Sunday. So sorry about that, Jalen. I sent the clip to Ed first, and then I just sent it to you, Jalen. So the Bill Maher clip. Okay, we'll go to that clip second, but we're gonna go to the Megyn Kelly clip in just a minute here. All right. So I want to go back to this topic we talked about on Friday's show, and we're going to expand the conversation a little bit. So now both Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly have come out attacking the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, being performed at NFL games. Okay. So there was 2 articles I read on this. One from thegrill.com picked up by Yahoo News, and also one from Mediaite. And the one from Mediaite was really good. And it actually has about a 4-minute clip in it from her show. Okay. But just very quickly here, if we look at this and then we'll go to the clip. So we know that a lot of people were upset about the silent protests against police brutality and racism and white supremacy that NFL players had going back to 2016, starting with Colin Kaepernick, August 2016, by taking a knee, silently taking a knee during the national anthem that I call the white national anthem. If we look at this article here from Mediaite, Megyn Kelly ripped NFL for shoving race-based, quote unquote, race-based messaging on fans. Average Americans don't want the Black national anthem. Now, Mediaite was wrong. I don't know if they had character limitations, but her actual statement was average Americans don't want, she doesn't think average Americans want the Black national anthem performed before the national anthem. That was what she was actually saying. Okay. I don't know if Mediaite did this on purpose with the title of this article, or if they're, when you put in the title of the articles, like in WordPress or what have you, if they ran into character limitations. I don't understand, but I want to put this in the proper context. That's not exactly what she said, the way they have it here. That's not exactly what she said. So I at least want to be fair. Okay. That's not exactly what she said, but here's what happened. Now, earlier this summer, the NFL revealed plans to feed social justice messaging during the 2021 season. Those plans include permitting select messages to be displayed on players' helmets and the addition of Lift Every Voice and Sing, also known as the Black National Anthem, before major events. With the NFL season prepped to welcome back fans and kick off week 1. So it started this past Thursday, September 9th, and they played the game here on 910 AM Superstation, WFDF, which is why my show wasn't on Thursday, not on 910. We broadcast it on Facebook and YouTube. So you can go watch the full Thursday show from September 9th also on Facebook at The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And the audio podcasts of these shows they're on 9 or 10 different audio podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, TuneIn, FM Player, Castbox, Stitcher, wherever you get your audio podcast from. Search for the African History Network show. Now, with the NFL season prep to welcome back fans and kick off week 1 of its regular season, Megyn Kelly lashed out at the league for mixing sports and politics, what she calls mixing sports and politics, right? Now, when they honor the veterans, she doesn't call that politics. When the national defense, when the Department of Defense, when the Department of Defense paid $50 million to NFL teams to have patriotic displays, she ain't had a problem with that, apparently. Okay. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. She said, "I don't think people want politics in their sports," Kelly told her producer, Steve Krakauer. She said, I think that's why the NBA has taken such a hit and learned from its prior experience. The NFL doesn't seem to be learning quite as quickly. All right. Now the NFL has been heavily associated with the social justice messaging of Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee during the national anthem 5 years ago. And he wasn't protesting against the anthem. He's protesting against white supremacy and police brutality. Just like Rosa Parks was not protesting against the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, December 1st, 1955. She was protesting against segregation on the buses. She was protesting against the policy of segregation in the city of Montgomery, Alabama. She wasn't protesting against the bus. Colin Kaepernick wasn't protesting against the national anthem. He's protesting against white supremacy and racism and police brutality, not just against African Americans, but against people of color. So what I find very interesting is that you have people like Megyn Kelly, you have people like Bill Maher, you have other people, Trader-in-Chief, Benedict Donald Trump, things like this, who, instead of focusing on addressing the issue that people are complaining about and working to eradicate white supremacy and racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, media, healthcare, jobs, etc. And it uses to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. Instead of addressing the systemic problems, they want to attack the person and silence the person who's pointing out the systemic problems. And usually the reason why is because either one, they feel guilty, or two, they benefit from the systemic inequities, the maldistribution of wealth, power, and resources. So they want to silence the person who is addressing these issues. They don't want to correct the issue. They just want to silence the person who's addressing the issues. So for 5 years, critics of Colin Kaepernick and social justice messages have threatened to boycott the NFL, but the league continues to thrive. Now, people, Megyn Kelly said, quote, people are holding their noses and stomaching this. She said to explain why the NFL's popularity continues to grow with no sign of a bubble pop in sight. Now, what is very important to understand, then we're going to go to this clip, is that for the majority of these games, people probably won't even see them perform the national anthem. All right. Now they had Alicia Keys performed the national anthem for the game on Thursday. But if we look at this article, we look at this piece here from let's look at this piece here from the Griot, because it talked about how when these games are on television, most of the time, they're aired. Most of the time, it's not even aired when they play the national anthem. So you have to ask the question, well, what are people complaining about so much? Now, also, they're going to there'll be 6 messages that they can have on their helmets. These messages include not only will players continue to protest social injustices, but the league is encouraging it, permitting 6 different messages to be displayed on helmets during games. Players can choose from end racism, stop hate, it takes all of us, Black Lives Matter, inspire change, and say their stories. All right. Megyn Kelly didn't seem to like any of those either. All right, let's go to this clip here. We're gonna go to clip 1 from Mediaite, from the clip from Megyn Kelly's podcast, Jalen.
I want to bring you a feature we have here on the MK show called Real Talk, where we just kick around an issue that's in the news that we want to talk to you about. And today, that's the NFL, because we're about to get into NFL season again. The first game is on Thursday, and Steve Krakauer, my executive producer, is with me, so we're going to talk about it. But the plan now, Steve, this year is that they're going to allow 6 social justice messages on players' helmets and they have to choose from one of the following 6: end racism, stop hate, it takes all of us, Black Lives Matter, inspire change, and say their stories. So all of these are for the most part are race-based. Little different from last season when they were allowed to display messages like stop hate and Black Lives Matter on their helmets, and they were allowed to have the names of Black people who've been killed by police, such as George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, on their helmets. They can also have slogans in the end zone. I feel like this is still not going to go over well. I don't think people want politics in their sports. I think that's why the NBA has taken such a hit and learned from its prior experience. The NFL doesn't seem to be learning quite as quickly.
Back in the bubble season in 2000, they had, in 2020, they had the names on the jerseys. They changed the players' names to right across their jersey. Now, then they went away from that. The next season, the entire season that we just went through, none of those social justice messages on the players' jerseys. NFL is sort of trailing that a little bit. But what's interesting about the NFL, I think, is that as a league, they have not necessarily embraced all of these sort of the social justice, I would say more divisiveness, as the NBA has, as a league. Certainly certain players have, but not only that, I think for that reason, the ratings are crushing it in the NFL, and I would imagine starting tomorrow night with the Cowboys and the Bucks and Tom Brady, it's going to be crushing it again.
I'm sure they've been doing better than like the NBA did, that's for sure. But I also think that the people are holding their noses and stomaching this. I don't think that the average American, black or white, wants to hear the Black national anthem before they hear the national anthem. I really don't. And it's no offense against people of color. We're one country. We're one country. We don't need separate anthems. It's a chance to come together, celebrate America, all of it, good, bad, warts and all, and then play a sports game, and not to shove politics or divisive cultural issues down the throats of the viewers who are looking for a getaway.
Right, and I think that we've seen that in some of the polling as well. I wonder a lot. NFL. You think of, yes, people like to watch their teams. There's definitely that. Fantasy football, gambling. I wonder how much of it, as you talk about kind of holding your nose, is like, look, I don't care about anything else other than how are my players doing. Let me just, see if I'm betting on this game, how they're doing. It's an insane industry. Gambling has been rising across the nation. I think now up to 20 states have legalized it or are on the track to legalize it. So how much of it is kind of like, we're not supportive of this kind of messaging, and we're just gonna really kind of laser focus on the game that we care most about.
It's funny because I talked to Clay Travis on this show one time about his love of sports, and I love Outkick.com. Even though I'm not a sports person, I love to read Outkick. And
great interview, by the way, on Outkick.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I sat with Bobby Barack, and we got into everything yesterday. But he was explaining to me why so many men in particular, but women too, love sports. And he was saying, it's like, it's Sunday, I've had a tough week, I sit down in front of the tube, I got a beer, for 2 hours I just get to sit and enjoy myself, and like all my troubles melt away. And I was like, this is an aha moment for me. That's how I feel when I watch The Real Housewives. It's like the same thing.
Pause it right there, Jalen.
I do not want to see little messages about the Me Too movement in front of my Real Housewives.
Pause it right there.
I don't want those women talking about politics.
Pause right there. Thank you. That's why I don't listen to Megyn Kelly. But anyway, so I don't want to see messages about Me Too, things like this. Now, NFL has messages about breast cancer. NFL has messages about other causes that they deem are worthy. Those other causes don't usually get backlash. The NFL is 70% African American. NFL is 70% African American. They're not shoving this down people's throats. Now, if you look at this right here, if we go back to the article from Mediaite, it tells you here, like last season, Lift Every Voice and Sing will only be performed at major league events and will be played in addition to the Star Spangled Banner, not replace it. But what they talk about is that NFL TV partners typically only air the national anthem ahead of special events such as the Super Bowl or the season's kickoff game. At home, viewers are unlikely to see either national anthem performed during most regular season weeks of the NFL, meaning the league's decision bears almost no impact on the product being delivered to audiences. So you have to ask the question, what's this all really about? What's this all really about? Now, I think some people are just finding out there's a Black national anthem because Americans are very ignorant of history. We've talked about this before. But Americans, regardless of race, are very ignorant of history. So if we now also Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. There's an article from thehill.com. Bill Maher criticizes NFL for playing Black national anthem. Now, Bill Maher's comments were a little different, kind of different than Megyn Kelly's. Still problematic, but a little different than Megyn Kelly's. We're gonna go to the Bill Maher clip in a couple minutes here, Jalen. Clip number 5. So if we look at this piece here from thehill.com, and there other outlets picked this story up also. Bill Maher criticizes NFL for playing Black national anthem. This is from September 11th, 2021. All right, we know people commemorated the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Donald Trump acted a fool once again. HBO's Bill Maher on Friday, okay, so it'd be Friday, September 10th. On Friday, took aim at the NFL's decision to play Lift Every Voice and Sing, long considered the Black national anthem before games this season, calling it, quote unquote, segregation, but under a different name. Segregation under a different name. I get the impression Bill Maher does not know the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing and James Weldon Johnson, who wrote it, and his brother Rosamond Johnson, who composed the melody for it. Now, the host of Real Time with Bill Maher commented on the NFL's 2021 opening game between the Dallas Cowboys and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which featured a performance of the song by Alicia Keys, and she performed the Black national anthem before the Star Spangled Banner was featured. Okay, keep in mind the league is 70% African American, at least 70%. Now, Bill Maher said during his show on Friday, maybe we should get rid of our national anthem, but I think we should have one national anthem. Now, if you watch my show Friday, I said also you need to get rid of the white national anthem because it is the white national anthem. I said there needs to be a new national anthem that is inclusive of the different races and ethnicities in this country, because the one that Francis Scott Key wrote September 13th, 1814 is not inclusive. And so you have some people who say, well, it's just the third stanza where it says no refuge for the hireling or the slave. No, it's the entire song. The entire song is a white supremacist song. If you understand Francis Scott Key and the history behind the song, the entire song is a white supremacist song, not just the third stanza. So Bill Maher went on to say, he said, I think when you go down a road where you're having two different national anthems, colleges sometimes now have, many of them have different graduation ceremonies for Black and white, separate dorms. This is what I mean, segregation. Okay. So we're going to go to this. We're going to go to, let's go to clip 5. This is an excerpt of what Bill Maher said. Then we're going to deal with some of the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
HBO's Bill Maher on Friday took aim at the NFL's decision
to play. It's the clip below that. It's in a tweet. Jalen, stop the clip. Scroll down. It's in a tweet, and it shows a picture of Bill Maher in the tweet, the JPEG. Click that. It's like 1 minute and 12 seconds, something like that.
I mean, to me, when people say to me sometimes, like, boy.
Yeah, that's the right one. Go ahead and play it. Okay, I guess the computer's freezing up.
I mean, to me, when people say to me sometimes, like, boy, you know, you go after the left a lot these days. Why? I'm like, because you're embarrassing me. That's why I'm going after the left in a way you never did before. Because you're inverting things that I'm not going to give up on being liberal. This is what these teachers are talking about, that you're taking children and making them hyper aware of race in a way they wouldn't otherwise be. I mean, I saw last night on the football game, Alicia Keys sang Lift Every Voice and Sing, which now I hear is called the Black National Anthem. Now, maybe we should get rid of our national anthem, but I think we should have one national anthem. I think when you go down a road where you're having two different national anthems, colleges sometimes now have, many of them have different graduation ceremonies for black and white, separate dorms. This is what I mean, segregation. You've inverted the idea. We're going back to that under a different name.
Okay. So Bill Maher said, now I hear it's called the Black National Anthem. Bill Maher, it was written in 1899. Where the hell have you been? It was written in 1899. Now you hear it's called the Black National Anthem? See, I'm trying to explain to people, Americans are very ignorant of history. All right. This is what we have to deal with when we try to get our issues, concerns met with to have a historical context. These are the types of things we have to deal with. And Bill Maher is not one of the worst ones either. And he's tone deaf and ignorant of history. So I want to look at this article here. There was a good article dealing with the origins of Lift Every Voice and Sing. And I got to pull this up. I thought I had the clip here, but the article. The Washington Post has a good article dealing with this. Okay. And this goes back to when Beyonce performed Lift Every Voice and Sing during Coachella. I think it was during Coachella. Okay. I've talked about this article before. And in some of my lectures, I deal with the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing as well. But if we look at this article here from the Washington Post, let's pull this one up. All right, Lift Every Voice and Sing, the story behind the Black National Anthem that Beyonce sang. Lift Every Voice and Sing, the story behind the Black National Anthem that Beyonce sang. So back in 2018, Beyonce performed Lift Every Voice and Sing at, I think it was at Coachella. All right. And a lot of people just found out about it then. All right. In a performance in front of tens of thousands of people, one of America's biggest pop stars paid homage to the song by singing a few lines of it. Beyonce became the first Black woman to headline the Coachella Music Festival in Indio, California. Her entire set, complete with a drum line from a marching band, step dancing, and musicians in berets, was an ode to a Black culture and historically Black colleges. So some people just found out about Lift Every Voice and Sing then, I guess. But arguably the most significant moment in her show, politically and historically, was her rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing. Her rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing, as it is also called, just before transitioning to her song Formation. Based on the response on social media, the performance resonated particularly with Black audiences live streaming the performance at home. All right. So when Beyonce performed Lift Every Voice and Sing at Coachella, this was a culture shock for a lot of people, in general, I guess. Some white people, I guess, but it was a culture shock for a lot of them. And I guess there's some African Americans that don't know about the Black National Anthem either. So that's possible as well. But anyway, if we, I want to pull this up here. If we look at this, let's see here. Let's go to this little background information on James Weldon Johnson and Lift Every Voice and Sing. Now, there was an article from watchthe.com called "Did You Know That the Man Who Wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing was a member of Phi Beta Sigma?" Okay. James Weldon Johnson wrote the song in 1899. he was asked to deliver a speech commemorating the birthday of Abraham Lincoln. Now, Lincoln was assassinated. He was shot April 14th, 1865, at the Ford Theater. He dies the next morning at 7:22 a.m. Okay. And we're going into a new century. 1899 is 4 years after Frederick Douglass died. It's 3 years after Plessy versus Ferguson U.S. Supreme Court case that U.S. Supreme Court ruled on that Jim Crow laws, segregated streetcars and different things like this, segregated trains don't violate the U.S. Constitution, don't violate the 14th Amendment. We talked about this in my class today. So he's asked to, he was a young poet and a school principal. He was asked to address a crowd in Jacksonville, Florida, for the coming anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And we're talking about just basically 2 decades after Reconstruction ends in 1877. And we're seeing a reversal of the rights of African Americans. We're seeing a reversal in the rights of African Americans. Just a year before this, in 1898, you have a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case called Williams versus Mississippi. Williams versus Mississippi challenges the poll taxes and literacy tests that the Mississippi State Convention voted on in 1898, the year before, and put it into the Mississippi State Constitution to suppress the African American vote, because the majority of the population of Mississippi in 1890, when the Mississippi State Convention took place in 1890, and they voted on the 1890, the majority of the population in Mississippi was African American at the time. Okay. So all this is taking place. Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896. Frederick Douglass dies, 1895. Mississippi State Constitution, 1890. Jim Crow laws instituted to suppress the African American vote. The Louisiana State Constitution of 1898 is voted on. They adopt poll taxes and literacy tests as well. So he's asked to give this speech to commemorate the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, but also talk about what's to come in the new century. Okay. Now, instead of preparing an ordinary speech, James Weldon Johnson decided to write a poem. He began the poem with a simple but powerful line, a call to action, a call to action. Lift every voice and sing. He paced back and forth on his front porch, agonizing over the lines of the poem. After finishing each stanza, he handed over the lyrics to his classically trained brother, John Rosamond Johnson, who put the words to music. According to an account from James Weldon Johnson recalled in the book Anthem, Social Movements and the Sound of Solidarity in the African Diaspora by Shana L. Redmond. As he, and I want to flip over here to the article here also, as he wrote the words evoking the struggle and resilience of his ancestors, he began to weep. He said, "I could not keep back the tears and made no effort to do so." Okay, so this is the song is tied into the history and struggle of African people. And you have tone deaf people who have access to media who speak and show how tone deaf they are. He said, as he wrote the words, evoking the struggle and resilience of his ancestors. We're talking about basically 22 years after. We're talking about a little more than 20 years after Reconstruction ends, okay? And slavery ends in 1865, so you still have former slaves who are alive right now. Harriet Tubman doesn't die until 1913. Booker T. Washington doesn't die until 1915. Frederick Douglass had just passed away 4 years before this in 1899. Then to put all this in context and show you how this is not ancient history. I study ancient history. I'm telling you, this is not ancient history right here. How many people have ever seen the TV show called The Jeffersons? How many people have ever seen The Jeffersons? How many people remember Mother Jefferson on The Jeffersons? Okay, Mother Jefferson was played by a veteran actress named Zara Cully. Zara Cully, Z-A-R-A C-U-L-L-Y, Zara Cully. Zara Cully died in 1978, and they wrote it into the script of The Jeffersons. Zara Cully was born in 1892. Zara Cully was born 3 years before Frederick Douglass died. Sha'Carri Cully was born 7 years before James Weldon Johnson wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing. So when you watch The Jeffersons and you see Sha'Carri Cully, Mother Jefferson, you're looking at living history, and you're looking at a woman who was born 3 years before Frederick Douglass died. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. We'll continue this conversation dealing with James Weldon Johnson, the history, Lift Every Voice and Sing. We'll also talk about the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond, Virginia. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. All right. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. All right. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network show and African History Network through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. Okay. This is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show through Cash App. When you go to it, it shows my name, Michael, and shows my picture there. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. Stand by. Now, who still needs to register for the new 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968? This class is 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? 10-week online course. Some of this information that we're talking about today, dealing with that period of time in history, we get deep into that conversation in the class. Some of the people who are watching right now are enrolled in the class now. As soon as you register, you can watch the class that we just had on Saturday, September 11th. I'm going to post a link here. Class is on sale right now, $70, regularly $130. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again, even after the 10-week online course is over with. Register there. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by.
$910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
I'm Dr. Michael Imhotep. On the African History Network show, we deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, September 12th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. I know we lost one or two callers. Call back in after we finish this interview. Okay, call back in after the commercial break. We'll go to the phone lines. And then also right before we go to our guest, right before we go to Demand, I want to remind you that you can register for the new 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays. We had class number 1 from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. This is a 10-week online course that I teach. Class number 1 started on Saturday, September 11th. We had a great class. We went over 2 hours also. But some of the things that we talked about in class number 1 was, we start with the Civil War and what led up to the Civil War taking place. Okay. And each class we go through analyzing approximately 10-year period of history to understand what happened to us after slavery ended, what happened to us after the Civil War ended, the events that took place, and laws and policies that were put in place to put us in the predicament that we're in right now. Okay. So if you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, click on register here. You can register for the course. It's regularly $130. It's on sale $70. It's still discounted. It's going to be discounted for a few more days to $70. Click on register here. It takes you to the next page and just enroll. As soon as you enroll, you can watch the class we just did Saturday. There's also bonus content that you can watch as well. Okay. And you get some bonus lectures from me also. But some of the things we talked about in class number 1 was what led to the U.S. Civil War taking place. And the Civil War was 1861 to 1865. We talked about the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, where the U.S. buys 828,000 square miles of land for about $15 million from France. France has to sell this land because they're fighting against the Haitians during the Haitian Revolution. They're trying to raise money. France almost goes bankrupt fighting against the Haitians. We talked about the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. And the ideology of manifest destiny, that it was Europeans, the U.S. was ordained by God to spread capitalism and democracy, and they wanted to take over the entire North American continent. We talk about Texas becoming part of the Union in 1845 after winning their independence from Mexico in 1836, and Texas comes into the Union as a slaveholding state. We talked about as a result of the Mexican-American War of 1846 and 1848 and the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848, which ends the Mexican-American War, the U.S. gets Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Utah, and Nevada as part of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. They get all that land for about $15 million. Mexico loses about a third of their land, and the U.S. gets all of this land because of the Mexican-American War, which leads to what's known as the Compromise of 1850. And the Compromise of 1850 consisted of 5 bills to deal with this new land that's coming into this new territory coming because of the Mexican-American War. But one of the bills in the Compromise of 1850 was the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which you see depicted in the movie Harriet, which intensifies the abolitionist movement. Okay. We also talked about the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, the founding of the Republican Party in 1854 as a direct backlash to the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. And we also talked about what's known as Bleeding Kansas of 1854 and 1855, which is armed conflict between pro-slavery groups and anti-slavery groups in Kansas. Okay, Bleeding Kansas. So those are some of the things we talked about in class number 1. So as soon as you register for that, you can watch the entire class and you'll be ready for class number 2 next week. All right, so on the line, we have brother Damon Petty. Everybody calls him Kong. Of the now he organizes a great Juneteenth festival here in Detroit that I spoke at a few years ago, but he also is organizing this second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. That's fantastic as well. So we want to welcome to the African History Network show, brother Damon. How you doing, brother?
Peace, thank you for having me here. We appreciate being here. I'm here on behalf of the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. And I just want to get the information out and see if we can get us some more attention, some positive energy there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this is a great event, man, and you got the right person on the flyer too, man. You have Soke on the flyer as well. So this is a great event. So you have a lot taking place at this event. So it's taking place Friday and Saturday. Okay, Friday is 12 noon to 6 p.m. Saturday is 12 noon to 8 p.m. Let people know what's going to take place on Friday and where it's going to be.
Okay, well, the location of both days for the festival is Maher's Park, Maher's Gentry Park, which is located at 12550 Avondale. The first day, Friday, there will be entertainment. This is the second day, but we're focusing on our cultural entertainment. We have the traditional African drummers from the Nananjapo drummers and dancers, and I believe also the youth dancers, the Al-Nur African dance team will also be there.
Yeah, they're both excellent. Just so everybody knows, both dance groups are excellent. I've seen both of them. I know those people. Both groups are excellent. But go ahead.
Yeah, they have definitely earned their notoriety. You know, they show up to these events and perform not just for entertainment, but because they want to show other young people that there's an outlet. There's a different type of dance, you know, there's a different type of beat you can make, there's a different type of drum you can play. They're also constantly advertising to interested people because we must keep this going. Right? As we flip over our generations with the drummers and our dancers, we need young people who are interested in their culture and in their in traditions, you know what I'm saying? Because these are traditional songs and dances. They don't just make them up. Right? They come from the land. So we're looking for people who are ready to move their feet and who are ready to hit those drums and make sure that we keep that vibe going. So we definitely appreciate Al Nur and Nananjapo for constantly showing up to every type of cultural anything that we ask them to do. And not only that, but they help keep the Charles H. Wright Museum going as well with all the work they do there. So we really appreciate both of them. But besides them, we also have several local renowned poets and published authors. Okay. We have a few musicians that will be there. There will be
you said musicians.
Jazz
you said a few musicians.
Rock out for as long as they want to.
You said a few musicians. You said a few musicians will be there.
Yes. Okay. Yes. There's a brother. I don't have my list, and I'm
really
sorry.
That's fine.
But there's a brother that's worked with us before. He plays the violin. He's an amazing violinist. We met him last year. During the winter, and we'll have him there. There's a saxophonist that's been coming to Juneteenth for a couple of years. He'll be there. We have youth performers, and also, I would like to say, it's important that I do say, that we are proud and happy to have our first major sponsor, which is the House of Dank, and they are sponsoring our main stage Saturday.
Okay, the House of what? The House of what?
The House of Dank, yes, it's a dispensary.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, they are sponsoring our main stage on Saturday. So everything got to be happening on that stage. And as I said, I've been doing this 11 years. We've sent out a lot of letters to a lot of people. So we're happy to have this stage. We've had people performing, you know, under the shelters at the park and on the back of pickup trucks. You know, we make it do. We've made do, you know. So we're happy to be able to present our young people and our poets and our singers with a proper, you know, platform, you know, a presentable platform to be able to be seen as far as the eye can see, you know. And Maher is a great park. It's right off the water. Right. So it's going to be a great backdrop for them to perform. Okay. We're happy to be able to have that.
Give the address of the park. Give the address of the park also.
The address of the park again is Maher's Gentry Park, 12550 Avondale. Okay. It's near Jefferson and Connors on the east side of the city.
Okay, on the east side of Detroit. Okay, in the Jefferson Encounters. Okay, so we're talking about this is Friday, September 17th, 12 noon to 6 p.m. and Saturday, September 18th, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Okay, now this is a free event, correct?
Yes, our events so far have been free to the public. I don't really know when they will switch that around, but right now our goal is to give the culture to the people for free. We're not interested in selling our culture.
Right.
Like we're like they have this is the thing, like we're gonna get together in a drum circle that's gonna happen in front. Those drum circles happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We do those anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of how we live and how we move around in our spirit. So we're not selling the culture. Right? You're more than welcome to come and sit out and enjoy yourself. No one's gonna pass a plate around or anything like that. You know, obviously you're welcome to give donations. We need donations to get this going. We still have several things to pay for, like porta potties and tables and chairs.
Right.
And we ended up needing way more chairs than we thought because a lot of people want to come see these performers, you know. So we want to make sure that we can accommodate everybody. We're still going to be practicing social distancing.
Okay.
So because we did this last year, our first year doing this was during the pandemic.
Right.
And we were allowed to have 100, or you couldn't have more than 100 people in the park.
Okay.
So we had to keep it limited. We had to keep the crowd down, but you know, we social distance. We wore our masks. We did tip checks, and we respected each other's space. And there was no negative backlash or anything like that attached to it. So we're excited to be back again, where the world is a little bit more opened up, but we're not going to negate being safe and protecting ourselves. You know.
Okay.
So it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a safe time. And we want to thank the Detroit Police Department for being helpful throughout all of this, and they'll also be out there with us. The Detroit Fire Department has also been helpful, and Parks and Rec. Like, they've really been helpful with making sure we dot our I's and cross our T's. So we appreciate that.
So now I'm speaking on Saturday, September 18th. The event is 12 noon to 8 p.m. on Saturday. I'm speaking on Saturday. You know, you have any idea about what time I'm speaking, so people can know?
Well. Yes. We would say that I would say that I can give you a window.
Okay,
right?
that's fine.
I can give you a window, and we will make sure that between the time of 3 and 5 p.m., more like 3:30 and 4:30.
Okay, that's fine.
That will be a presentation from Brother Michael. Yeah, between 3:30 and 4:30.
And we'll have updates on our social media platforms and our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, now what is the website? How can people get more information if people want to donate? Because as I explained to people, and as as I told my friend Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence, we don't do this for the money, but it takes money to do this. What's your website?
Yes, sir. Okay, our website is Detroit African Cultural Festival.
Detroit what?
.com. So Detroit African Cultural Festival.
Okay. .com.
Yeah.
Okay, Detroit African Cultural Festival.com, because we're going to put it up here on the screen. Okay, Detroit African Cultural Festival.com is the website. You can get more information on the website as well. And then also, let's see here, just a second here. Okay. Also looking at the flyer here. Okay, so on Friday, 12 noon to 6 p.m., you have the drumming circle, you have food, family fun, the kids corner. You're going to have some great things for children as well. You have another flyer circulating around that talks about what's going on for children. Talk about some of the things you have for children.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that our parents, well, first of all, we want to make sure that the festival is a festival. This is not a pop-up shop. This is a festival
okay.
Where you're coming to sit out in the field, you know, bring chairs, bring tents, prepare yourself to be there for the day. It's not like walk up one end, spend money, walk up one end, and then you leave. Like, we want you to stay and enjoy yourself, allow your children to go and create a kids corner. There will be art demonstrations, and they'll all have easels. They'll get to create things and take them home with them. There'll be arts and crafts and different things going on there. Thanks to Peace at Home Child Care, they are a community centered daycare, right? And we trust them and we love them. We appreciate them. A lot of our children go there, So they'll be out there. They're at every event, you know what I'm saying? So they'll be out there making sure that the children have something to do while their parents can enjoy the nature walks. Maher Park has a beautiful roundabout where you can walk over the bridge and see the water, and we don't allow the children to go back there. You know what I'm saying? So we only allow the adults to go back there. We want them to be able to enjoy the park, enjoy everything else we have to offer, meet some of our authors and artists that'll be out there. We want our community to connect with each other because we don't know the type of things that the people right around the corner are out here trying to push and make people aware of.
Right.
And we want the Detroit African Cultural Festival to be that type of place where we all come together and we discover some new things that need to be. Okay.
All right. So you have things for the children, performing artists for the children as well. Okay. Now, let's go back and look at this here. Okay. So you're going to have live jazz poets, Erica Felix and Iyi.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. You want to say something about that?
Yes, I was going to say that the youth performers, we have several performers, a Super K Major, and about 5 or 6 other young people that will all be like rocking the mic and getting the crowd on their feet. It's all obviously going to be appropriate language and everything, but these children are working hard. We want you to come and get to know them. We want you to bring your children to get to know them, because this is the thing, like, we sit and we wait for the media to tell us who is popular, right? And sometimes there are people who live right down the street from us.
Right.
You know, we can choose that. Like, we can create this, though. We can decide that if my children are going to listen to rap music, it's going to be from someone their own age, right? Their own demographic, and they're going to be rapping about school and parents. Right. You know, and how hard it is to be a 12-year-old.
Right.
We can buy that music and give it to our children. That music exists, and those artists are right here in the city. Right. We want them to come out again. It's free. Bring your children to see other children command a stage. It's not just about rap music. It's about dedication, determination, and discipline. These are children who go to the studio. These are children who write rhymes. They keep good grades. Like, these are children who pay attention to detail, and they manage their chores and family and studio life. Like, they're already doing these things, and we're on our children about being responsible and accountable. Children who are able to do all these things, they are responsible and accountable children.
Right.
So they're not just looking at a rapper, they're looking at a kid who's got their stuff together.
Okay, very quickly.
You know what I'm saying? They're looking at a young person who was already trying to get their life together.
Right. Okay, very quickly, because we're up against a break. We only have 2 minutes left in this interview. What's the website, social media, and is there a theme for this year for the festival also? Give us that information.
Okay, yes, I'm glad you asked me because I messed up on the website. The website, I'm sorry, it is DetroitACF.org.
Okay, I'm glad you told me. DetroitACF.org. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just got the text like, no, that's not what it is. DetroitACF.org.
Okay.
And we are on Facebook at the Detroit African Cultural Festival. And we are taking donations. You can follow us on there and message us on there. Come straight to the website, and we can arrange that. But we're taking it through Cash App and Zelle and Venmo. We do still need supplies, so we definitely need, and every dollar counts. So if anyone is willing to donate, we appreciate that.
All right.
We want to be able to bless our young performers. So
is there a phone number? Is there a phone number? Is there a phone number people can contact also?
Yes. The phone number to be reached if they want to just call or text or ask about any information. We have a line specifically for that, and they can reach out to us.
What's the number?
Any time of day, and the phone number is 313-459-2410.
313-459-2140. 2410. All right. That's Brother Damon Petty with the 2nd annual Detroit African Cultural Festival taking place Saturday, September 17th, Friday, September 17th, Saturday, September 18th at Maher Park. Visit their website, DetroitACF.org, DetroitACF.org for more information. We'll see you there, brother. All right. We're out of time. Thanks for coming on today, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Talk to you later. Peace. Okay, everybody, we're coming up on a break here. This is the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back. We'll talk some more about James Weldon Johnson and the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing and these other topics. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. Hey, Imani, how you doing, Imani? Okay, so this is Imani. Okay. Imani put the Cash App up. Cash App, $ Detroit ACF. Okay. Imani works with Brother Damon with Kong. All right. Stand by. And then their website is DetroitACF.org once again. Okay. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Okay. Okay, we'll be back. We're going to talk about James Weldon Johnson. We'll finish that discussion. Who still needs to register for the 10-week online course that I teach? We just had a new session that started up on Saturday, September 11th. It's a 10-week online course, class number 1, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay, stand by, everybody. We'll post a link here. You can register for the class. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we just did Saturday. We had a fantastic class on Saturday. The class is still discounted for a very limited time only, down to $70. Regularly $130.
With current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. 910, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, September 12th, 2021, and we are live. You know, this time goes by really quickly. Now, just so everybody understands, I'm on 6 days a week. I think I'm the only talk show host on this radio station on 6 days a week. We're on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time. Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then we're on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because Sunday, 9 p.m., that's my original time slot. I was doing that for like 5 years, that time slot Sundays. And then I was offered Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, back in October. We started October 12th, I think it was Columbus Day. So they caught me in a good mood. I said yes. Okay, so we're on 6 days a week. If you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have information on how to listen to the show. You can listen on 910 AM Superstation WFDF here in Detroit. Then also download the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to iHeartRadio, search for 910 AM Superstation, and then also search for the African History Network show on iHeart, because we have our own channel there, and they have about 300 of my shows podcasted there as well, okay, because we upload these shows in audio podcast format. All right, now, 910 AM Superstation has a fantastic advertising package called The Godfather package. 910 AM Superstation has the greatest advertising deal ever with their Godfather package. Get 200 spots for 500 days with a must air within 30-day policy. A must air within 30-day policy. That is only $2.50 per spot, and they will even produce the spots for free. That's right, for free. Call Renisha Williams right now at 313-434-8291. Renisha Williams right now at 313-434-8291. Let her know that Michael Imhotep told you to call. Okay. So right before the break, we were talking about to Brother Demond about the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. And before that, we were talking about comments from Bill Maher on HBO and also Megyn Kelly on her podcast, attacking the NFL for having the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, performed at NFL games this season. We talked about Megyn Kelly on Friday, and on also on Friday on when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we discussed Megyn Kelly, but we didn't have Roland talked about it. We didn't have enough time to go to the panel. I was one of the panelists. So what I was going to say on his show, I said on my show Friday. Go watch that. And we went through and broke down a lot of that history. On Friday on Bill Maher's show, Friday, September 10th, Bill Maher made his comment. So we only on my show Friday, we only talked about Megyn Kelly's comments. All right. I found out about Bill Maher basically after the show. So we're discussing both of their comments, and then we're also giving a history lesson and dealing with the history of James Weldon Johnson and the Black National Anthem. Okay, Lift Every Voice and Sing. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation just a second, this slide here. So James Weldon Johnson writes the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing in 1899. Now, when you have the Red Summer of 1919, the year after World War I ends, and you have over 25 major race riots in this country, he's the one that coined the term the Red Summer. He called it the Red Summer because the streets of America were flowing with blood. That's James Weldon Johnson, okay? And then he also organizes the Silent March in 1917 when you have 10,000 African Americans marching down Fifth Avenue looking for, because they were demanding a federal anti-lynching law, all right? So if we go back to this article here from the Washington Post, dealing with Lift Every Voice and Sing, the story behind the Black National Anthem that Beyonce sang. Beyonce sang this song at Coachella in 2018 and gave a lot of people a culture shock, and a lot of people didn't know that there was a Black National Anthem, okay? So James Weldon Johnson was asked to deliver a speech. He writes the lyrics in 1899. He was asked to deliver a speech to a crowd in Jacksonville, Florida, for the coming anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And he sits down to write this speech, but he decides to write a poem. And instead of preparing an ordinary speech, he decided to write a poem. He began with a simple but powerful line, which was a call to action: lift every voice, sing. Okay, paced back and forth on his front porch, agonizing over the lines of the poem. After each stanza, he handed over the lyrics to his classically trained brother, John Rosamond Johnson, who put the words to music, according to the account from an account from James Weldon Johnson, recalled in the book Anthem: Social Movements and the Sound of Solidarity in the African Diaspora by Shauna L. Redmond. Now, as he wrote the words, evoking the struggle and resilience of his ancestors, he began to weep. He said, "I could not keep back the tears and made no effort to do so. I could not keep back the tears and made no effort to do so," James Weldon Johnson recounted. The following year, a chorus of 500 school children performed the song at the Lincoln celebration there in Jacksonville, Florida. This took off, becoming a rallying cry for Black communities in the South, or as one observer noted at the time, quote, "a collective prayer," end quote, a collective prayer. The song was embraced as a hymn in churches, and it was performed at graduation ceremonies and in school assemblies. Now, I remember being in school, in elementary school, and we sang the Black National Anthem at the beginning of every school assembly. Now, within 20 years, the NAACP adopted Lift Every Voice and Sing as its official song. For generations to come, it would be known widely as the Black National Anthem. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, why did we need a Black National Anthem? Why did we need a Black National Anthem? Because we knew the white national anthem was not for us. That's why. We knew the white national anthem didn't speak to our history, at least in a positive way. So we needed something that we created that told the story of our ancestors, not theirs. Now, as I said before at the beginning of the show, we need a new national anthem that is inclusive of the different races and ethnicities in this country. But the white national anthem is not it. Written by Francis Scott Key, September 13th, 1814, during the War of 1812. Now, okay, let's see here. Okay, so that's a little background of James Weldon Johnson and the Black National Anthem. All right, now, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. I know there was a caller that we lost. Did we have anybody on the line, Jalen? We have any callers?
We have Marathon.
Marathon. Okay, a Marathon. Thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Marathon.
Calling from Detroit, Michigan, 910.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Yep, enjoying the show. Lift Every Voice and Sing is a musical masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
It surpasses the song they already have. That song is racist, and I think we should have Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Okay. All right. Was that it? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
As far as I had something else to say.
Go ahead.
As far as Biden with the mandates, I think that was right on time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was right on time because things were getting out of hand with this virus.
Right. Okay.
He's doing what a president needs to do.
Right. Okay, Marathon. Thanks for calling. Keep listening, man. Okay, thanks for calling in. Thanks for calling in. Okay, keep listening. All right, everybody. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600. And on Sundays, we're on 2 hours earlier than we are Monday through Friday. So we tend to get more callers on Sunday, and we have 2 hours on Sunday, which is fine. That's my original time slot. I want to go very quickly here. Let's go to this article dealing with Francis Scott Key. We talked about this on the show Friday, but a lot of people miss the shows Monday through Friday because it comes on at 11 p.m. This is an article. Now, I've done an entire lecture dealing with Francis Scott Key and the origins of Lift Every Voice and Sing and the origins of the Star Spangled Banner. I've done one. It's a lecture I do dealing with Colin Kaepernick and Colin Kaepernick's protest, and then I tie that into the history of the Star Spangled Banner. But this article here, very quickly, from SmithsonianMag.com. Where's the debate on Francis Scott Key's slave-holding legacy? Where's the debate on Francis Scott Key's slave-holding legacy? Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner, September 13th, 1814, during the War of 1812. Okay, the War of 1812 was between the U.S. and Great Britain. During his lifetime, abolitionists ridiculed Francis Scott Key's words, sneering that America was more like the land of the free and the home of the oppressed. More like the land of the free and the home of the oppressed. Okay, so very quickly here, when we look at some history of Francis Scott Key, there's a picture of him. He was a slave-holding lawyer from an old Maryland plantation family, and he wrote the song that would, in 1931, become the national anthem and proclaim our nation, quote, the land of the free. Now, he wrote it as a poem. originally called the Defense of Fort McHenry. Okay. And lyrics were put to it years later. I mean, a melody was put to it years later, and it was named the Star Spangled Banner. He didn't originally name it the Star Spangled Banner. So in 1814, Francis Scott Key was a slaveholding lawyer from a plantation family who, thanks to a system of human bondage, had grown rich. When he wrote the poem that would in 1931 become the national anthem and proclaim our nation the land of the free, like Thomas Jefferson, Francis Scott Key not only profited from slaves, he harbored racist conceptions of American citizenship and human potential. African Americans, he said, were a distinct and inferior race of people, which all experience proves to be the greatest evil that afflicts a community. Now, this is Francis Scott Key, that man, the man that wrote the white national anthem. Now, so they talk about the defense of Fort McHenry, the attack, Battle of Brandenburg, all of that. I want to go down to this piece here. Francis Scott Key was district attorney to the city of Washington, D.C. from 1833 to 1840. And he defended slavery, okay, attacking the abolitionist movement in several high-profile cases. So when you talk about the land of the free and the home of the brave, free for who? Free for who? That's the question we should ask. Now, in the mid-1830s, the abolitionist movement gained momentum, and with it came increased violence, particularly from pro-slavery mobs attacking free African Americans and white abolitionists, and other methods to silence the growing cries for abolition. In a House of Representatives and U.S. Senate, United States Senate inundated with petitions for abolitionists calling for the ending or restriction of slavery, pro-slavery congressmen looked for a way to suppress the voices of abolitionists, just like people like Megyn Kelly want to suppress the voices of those those in the NFL who speak out against police brutality and white supremacy and racism, because white people just want to sit back and watch African Americans entertain them. This is what this is. This is really low key, like what Laura Ingraham told LeBron James, just shut up and dribble. This is what this is. Because, you know, these brothers out there risking chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, that I think Larry Elder has. I think Larry Elder, running for governor of California, I think he has CTE. I also think Burgess Owens, black congressman from Utah, there's a Republican who spoke at two House of Representative hearings on reparations, and he spoke against black people getting reparations, and he's black. He's a former NFL player. I think he has CTE also. Now, I don't know for certain, but he sure sounds like it to me. Sure sounds like he has chronic traumatic encephalopathy to me. Now, in 1836, the House of Representatives passed a series of gag rules to table all anti-slavery petitions and prevent them from being read or discussed, raising the ire of people like John Quincy Adams, who saw restricting debate on an assault on a basic First Amendment right of citizens to protest and petition. John Quincy Adams was the son of second president of the United States, John Adams. John Quincy Adams becomes the sixth president of the United States. John Quincy Adams also goes on to become, after he's president, he goes on to become defense attorney for the Africans on the Amistad slave ship in their U.S. Supreme Court case in 1841 that they won. Okay, he was their defense attorney, John Quincy Adams. You see that depicted in the movie Amistad. I think Anthony Quinn portrayed John Quincy Adams in that movie, if I remember correctly. Okay, now in the same year, shortly after a race riot in Washington, D.C., when an angry white mob set upon a well-known free African-American restaurant owner, Francis Scott Key likewise sought to crack down on the free speech of abolitionists he believed were riling things up in the city. Okay, he sought to crack down on the free speech of abolitionists he believed were riling things up in the city. All right, forget about their First Amendment rights, and they're fighting for human beings to be free. You're enslaving human beings. Now, keep in mind, this is after Francis Scott Key wrote about the land of the free and the home of the brave and all these nice flowery words. Okay, he's working in opposition of people who are trying to free the slaves, trying to free enslaved Africans. But he thought African people were mentally inferior. Okay, so this is who you're dealing with. All right, now let's continue here. And we have a picture of him up here also on the screen. This is a famous painting. Now, okay, let's continue here. Okay, let's go back to this article from Smithsonian Mag. So Francis Scott Key likewise sought to crack down on the free speech of abolitionists he believed were riling things up in the city. He prosecuted a New York doctor living in Georgetown for possessing abolitionist pamphlets. His name was Reuben Crandall. Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, he tried to have Reuben Crandall executed for having abolitionist pamphlets, not for trying to overthrow the government. Reuben Crandall didn't storm the U.S. Capitol building trying to overthrow the government like the insurrectionists did January 6th. That's not what he did. He just had abolitionist pamphlets because he thought slavery was morally wrong, and he wants to end slavery and free the slaves. In the resulting U.S. case, U.S. versus Reuben Crandall, Francis Scott Key made national headlines by asking whether the property rights of slaveholders outweighed the free speech rights of those arguing for slavery's abolishment. Francis Scott Key hoped to silence the abolitionists who he charged. Now, check this out. This is what he said about the abolitionists. He said the abolitionists he charged wished to associate and amalgamate with the Negro, end quote. Associate and amalgamate with the Negro. Though Reuben Crandall's offense was nothing more than possessing abolitionist literature, he wasn't an insurrectionist. He wasn't beating up police officers. He wasn't talking about hanging the vice president. He wasn't destroying property and stealing mail and stuff like that, like the insurrectionists January 6th, the domestic terrorists. He didn't do none of that. Though Reuben Crandall's offense was nothing more than possessing abolitionist literature, Francis Scott Key felt that abolitionist free speech rights were so dangerous that he sought unsuccessfully to have Reuben Crandall hanged. He tried to have Reuben Crandall executed. Land of the free and the home of the brave. Free for who? Read the rest of this article here. Where's the debate on Francis Scott Key's slaveholding legacy? That's what I want to know. That's from SmithsonianMag.com, official website of the Smithsonian Institute. Check that out. That's from July 1st, 2016. July 1st, 2016. All right. I think we have Charles back on the phone line. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Charles. Charles, hey, thanks for holding, Charles. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from. And we're getting some background noise from Charles. And turn down your radio.
Yeah,
we're getting the feedback. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just turned it down.
Go ahead. I'm all right. Go ahead.
Good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm all right.
I was good. You know what? That national anthem, lift every voice and sing, right? Now I was in the Navy.
The black national anthem, lift every voice and sing the black national anthem. Is that what you said? Okay, go ahead.
Now, when I was in the Navy, 92, 94, we had a 6-month Mediterranean cruise from 92 to 93, and it failed during February. We was allowed to have Black History Month in the ship's library, but we were instructed we could not sing that song. Okay, this is 1993.
Okay, they would not let you sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing."
You know that we could not sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which they knew was the national Black anthem back then.
Right.
We could not sing. We was allowed to have Black History Month, but we could not sing that song.
Did they give a reason why?
Wow. They just said we couldn't. We knew what it was. It was racist. We knew it. We was like, hey, we can have Black History Month, but we couldn't sing that. What they think uprising gonna happen? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, on a ship or something. I don't know, but yeah. But that's just to let you know about that. You know, they've been on it, bro. You know, to give you an inside scoop from a personal experience of mine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I want to tell you something. After history, I don't know if you remember me or not, but we were talking about the Christian Jack's series about Kemet, the Battle of Kadesh. I had that book. You said you looking for that one. I had to find it. But anyway,
which book is that?
Somehow they put the interjected.
Which book is that?
The Battle of Kadesh.
Okay.
It's a 5-part series by Christian Jack.
Okay.
They did it on ancient Egypt, yeah. And I got the Battle of Kadesh. But in the book, you were saying, you the one picked up the last one. And so anyway, I ended up reading it, bro. And you can see the energetic quotes of Moses. Mm-hmm. I mean, this man is the king of Kemet, about to go to war with the Syrians. And he looking for Moses. He got to talk to him. Where's my boyhood friend Moses? You could just hear the energetic quote.
Okay.
This man, the king of Kemet, he ain't looking for no doggone Moses. You know what I'm saying? I just want to touch on that.
Right.
I mean, we talked about that was fiction. But yeah, back to what we were saying. That don't make no sense. And if you want to speak on the vaccine, I'll let us speak on that.
Okay. Well, I got to go to this clip, man. We only got 10 minutes left in the show. Call back tomorrow night. Okay. Okay. We can't. Okay. All right, Charles. Thanks for calling. Okay. Everybody. Also, Jalen, we're gonna go to the clip from. Let's see, what is that clip now from Rachel Maddow's show? Okay, dealing with Biden and vaccine mandate. We're gonna go to that next because we run out of time here. Read this article. We talked about this on our Friday show. Read this article. This is from Washington Post back from I think this was 2016. Report: at least 50 teams were paid by Department of Defense for patriotic displays. At least 50 teams were paid by Department of Defense for patriotic displays. So with Megyn Kelly saying that people don't want politics interjected in the sports, right? I noticed when we played the clip from the show and in the comments she made, she didn't talk about this right here. The Department of Defense spent it was about $50 million over a number of years for patriotic displays, okay, at sporting events. NASCAR was the biggest recipient, getting $1.5 million for fiscal year 2015. Included were personal appearances by Auric Almirola and Richard Petty, as well as 20 Richard Petty driving experience ride-alongs. The expenditures, according to the Department of Defense, were integral to its recruiting efforts. A NASCAR official, okay, let's go down, read the rest of that. This was a study, this was a report from senators at the time, John McClain and Jeff Flake of Arizona. The report was called Tackling Paid Patriotism, a Joint Oversight Report. The 145-page report cites contributions to 18 NFL teams, 10 Major League Baseball teams, 8 NBA teams, 6 National Hockey League teams, 8 soccer teams, as well as NASCAR, Iron Dog, and Indiana University. The Atlanta Falcons, for instance, were the top recipients, getting $879,000 over 4 years. Over the same period of time, for instance, the New England Patriots received $700,000 and the Buffalo Bills $650,000. Okay, and this is for various patriotic displays. okay, with the military and things like this at games. So isn't that politics as well? Interjected into all these sports. I just find it interesting when you have people like Megyn Kelly who object to the Black National Anthem being sung, and oftentimes it's not even going to be televised. They have a problem with that, but they don't have a problem with things like this. Okay, very quickly here, let's go to this. I want to go to this this last story here, and we'll talk some more about this on tomorrow's show. So on Friday's show, it was either Thursday or Friday, we talked about Biden's vaccine mandate, people saying this is overreach, things like this. They didn't deal with the U.S. Supreme Court case of Richardson versus Massachusetts from 1905. I want to go to this clip here from the Rachel Maddow show, which gives some background information on this. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
At some very important level, this is good. Specifically, this is a good girl named Cobra, because why not?
A dog looking for COVID? Is it even possible?
Evidently, it is. And now you can find them at Miami International Airport. 4 dogs trained to
detect
COVID-19
hey, Jalen,
as part of a
refresh
pilot
that
program.
clip. I think it went to the next story or something. I don't think that's the right clip. She has an African-American law professor in the clip. I think it went to like the next story or something like that. Try to refresh the screen and see if it repopulates that clip. But anyway, also, if we can't squeeze it in here, we'll talk about it tomorrow's show. Read the article from BusinessInsider.com, how a Supreme Court decision from 1905 set the stage for vaccine mandates. This deals with Jacobson versus Massachusetts. And most legal experts, there was an article from the New York Times talk about this as well. Most legal experts say Joe Biden is on strong legal footing with this mandate, and in some cases is testing or is vaccine or testing. You had the right clip queued up?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to it.
The United States Supreme Court has ruled multiple times, going back more than a century, that it is not unconstitutional to require Americans to get a vaccine, even if a person doesn't want to. In the context of a serious public health threat, you can be required to be vaccinated. They ruled that way back in 1905 in the context of a mandatory smallpox vaccine requirement in Massachusetts. They ruled that way in 1922 in the context of vaccines being required of students if they wanted to attend school. The Biden administration's new rule that employees have to be vaccinated at all companies that have more than 100 employees, that rule is going to be enforced through OSHA. OSHA is the part of the Labor Department that was created by a law Richard Nixon signed in 1970. So we'd have an agency that regulates workplace conditions. As the Times notes today, quote, experts say the Biden administration appears to be on strong legal ground because it's relying on existing authority granted to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, granted to OSHA by the legislative branch and supported by decades of judicial rulings. And you know what? You put those things together, right? Evidence, current evidence, that it works for the current pandemic. Lots of historical precedent, not only for it working, but for it being successfully and legally implemented in our country. Clear, uncontested Supreme Court precedent going back more than a century, making it clear that this is absolutely constitutional policy. And on top of that, decades of judicial rulings all going the same way on these kinds of core questions. You line all those things up, and that used to be the kind of thing that would make a person confident in how these, blustery, chest-pounding, promised lawsuits against the president's policies would be struck down by the courts. But part of what has been heavy in our news this year, part of what has felt sort of unrelenting in our news this year, is the radicalism of the Supreme Court right now, stacked with 3 Donald Trump appointees. He was president for 1 term and was impeached twice. But Republicans gamed the system to get him 3 appointees on the court, which only has 9 members total. Overall, the 9-member court is stacked with 6 Republican appointees, 3 of them appointed by Donald Trump. And in a court like that, frankly, they have been delighted to throw out, 50-year-old precedents like, say, Roe versus Wade, just in order to get what they want. With Republican elected officials and the conservative media going bananas against what President Biden is stepping up to do on COVID, should we expect the stacked conservative courts, including the Supreme Court, to just join in the right-wing chorus, trying to stop these policies, trying to stop these policies that are trying to stop COVID? Or is the administration actually on firm ground here? What should we expect as this fight starts? Joining us now is Jamal Green. He's a constitutional law professor at Columbia University. Professor Green, it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thanks for making time.
Good to be here. Thank you.
First of all, let me ask you if the basic approach here by which I'm looking at this is right. It seems to me, as a non-lawyer and as an observer of these things, that both in terms of the implementation through OSHA and in terms of the broader question of whether or not there can be vaccine mandates in America, there does seem to be pretty solid precedent that this is within the government's power. Is that the right way to look at it? Would it have to be a departure from sort of settled precedent for these measures by the current administration to be overthrown?
Yeah, I think you've got it about right. I would add one important additional point, which is...
Pause it right there, Jalen. Pause it right there. Okay, those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting. We'll finish up this clip. We'll talk about this some more on tomorrow's show. We're on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. And be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and register for my new 10-week online course, From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, stand by. Stand by. Okay. Let's continue. Let me cue this clip up here because we're only on 9-10 for 2 hours, and they were running the clips from their side. So let me cue this one up. Just a second here. You can visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for this new 10-week online course. Class number 1 start up Saturday, September 11th, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the sessions, we do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded, so you can go back and watch it over and over again. And then even after the 10-week online course is over with, you still have you can still go watch the entire course as well. Okay, the class is regularly $130. It's on sale $70 right now for a very limited time only. It's on sale $70. And there's bonus content. Also, you get 6 additional lectures from me as well with the online course also. Okay, let me grab this clip here, and then we'll finish this up. And then we have to get out of here. I had to teach a 2-hour class today. All right, let's cue this up here. This other topic dealing with the Robert E. Lee statue taken down in the segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered, where we talked to Devin Henry. Devin Henry is the African-American man who owns the company that took the statue down. We'll share that interview on Monday's show because we're out of time here. All right, stand by. I got to get past this commercial here. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's go back to this.
Joining us now is Jamal Green. He's a constitutional law professor at Columbia University. Professor Green, it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thanks for making time.
Good to be here. Thank you.
First of all, let me ask you if the basic approach here by which I'm looking at this is right. It seems to me, as a non-lawyer and as an observer of these things, that both in terms of the implementation through OSHA and in terms of the broader question of whether or not there can be vaccine mandates in America, there does seem to be pretty solid precedent that this is within the government's power. Is that the right way to look at it? Would it have to be a departure from sort of settled precedent for these measures by the current administration to be overthrown?
Yeah, I think you've got it about right. I would add one important additional point, which is, we keep talking about these as if they're mandates, vaccine mandates is the language that people use when they attack it. But this isn't even a vaccine requirement, right? It's you get a vaccine, the employer has to have vaccination, or they can provide for weekly testing. That's the other option. The law that was upheld in 1905 in Massachusetts, which was the smallpox vaccination law, was one where there was a criminal fine associated with not getting vaccinated, and it applied to individuals, not to employers, right? So the Supreme Court has already upheld a much more severe vaccination requirement than is at issue here, right? So based on current law, the idea that you have a right to avoid this kind of being put to this kind of choice is basically frivolous. As you say, who knows with the current Supreme Court, they could always change their minds, but this is they're on very solid ground here. Now, when it comes to the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the OSHA enforcement, that's a little bit closer because there haven't been that many times when it's been invoked in this kind of emergency way. But again, the statute is designed for the government to be able to regulate workplace safety. This seems to me to be quite clearly within the mandate of the agency.
One of the other ways that the president is really expanding the number of people to whom, from whom vaccination is expected or required as a provision of their job, is by using Medicare and Medicaid funds. Do you think that those things may have tripwires for the Biden administration now?
I think any lawyer would be naive to say that there's no tripwires here. For decades and decades, as you've suggested, there were effectively no limits on the kinds of conditions that the federal government can attach to spending programs like Medicaid and Medicare. With the Affordable Care Act case, that all changed about a decade ago, and now I think any conditions that seem to be unusual or seem to be onerous might trigger some courts to be skeptical. Now, these kinds of requirements are, of course, very common sense in the context of healthcare. You want to make sure that healthcare workers are not infecting their patients, right? So this is entirely reasonable, and that would be the kind of a test that would have been used in the past. But as you've suggested, with the ways in which issues around this virus and this pandemic have been politicized, it's very hard to know if a court might reach out and see this as an opportunity to kind of nip at the administration.
Okay, all right. That's from the Rachel Maddow show on this Friday, September 10th. Actually, the clip says September 11th, but it's actually Friday, September 10th, because the show doesn't come on the weekend. So you can check that out, check out that clip, and then also this article here from Politico. BusinessInsider.com has a good, really simplified article, how a Supreme Court decision from 1905 set the stage for vaccine mandates. But also this more extensive article from Politico, Politico.com, the surprisingly strong Supreme Court precedent supporting vaccine mandates. This one here. This is an extensive article from Politico that deals with Jacobson versus Massachusetts as well. And I think they did some other cases also. This is from September 8th, 2021 from Politico. All right, so check those out as well. Okay, look, we have to get out of here. We'll talk about this some more tomorrow, and we'll share the excerpt from Roland Martin Unfiltered when I was on Friday, September 10th. Friday, September 10th, and we talked to Devon Henry, who owns the company that took down the statue of General Robert E. Lee, the 20-foot statue of General Robert E. Lee in Richmond, Virginia this past week. And it's an African-American owned company. So we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. All right, if you'd like to stop your information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/ /TheAHNShow, PayPal.me/TheAHNShow, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. This is our official Cash App tag, $TheAHNShow through Cash App. And when you go to it, it say Michael and show my picture there. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I did not set those up. So we're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. As I said at the top of the show, we had, I gotta remind you of this also. I will be, so Saturday, September 18th, I'm at Maher Gentry Park for the second annual Detroit African Cultural Festival. And then also I am September 26th, I'll be at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History for the screening of the documentary Hapi. This is the Hapi City Tour, and Brother Taki Grant and some of the people from the documentary Hapi, which deals with African history and economic empowerment. Some of them will be here in Detroit, and on the panel, the film stars Professor Jane Small and Dr. Wade Nobles and Dr. Julian Malveaux and many others. So I got to get the exact list of who's going to be here. I'll be moderating the panel discussion. This is taking place Sunday, September 26th, 2021, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it's going like 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., something like that. Get your tickets at hapifilm.com, hapifilm.com. They're going to do a screening of the documentary. Then we'll have a panel discussion as well. It's going to be fantastic. There'll be so come on out, visit hapifilm.com to purchase your tickets. And we'll have Taki on the show probably sometime this week and next Sunday. We're going to try to get Professor James Small on the show. I have to reach out to him. I'll talk to him. Professor James Small and I, we were on a virtual tribute to Runoko Rashidi a couple weeks ago, because we know Runoko Rashidi passed away August 2nd. Taki Grant, director of the film Hapi, he had interviewed Runoko a number of times before and was good friends with Runoko. So Taki organized a virtual tribute to Runoko Rashidi. So I'm on that panel discussion. So I talked to Professor James Small then, and actually Professor Small is one of the people I talked to confirm that Runoko had passed away as well. I talked to Professor Kabahai Watha Kamene and Professor James Small. So we'll get Professor Small here on the show, hopefully next Sunday. All right. So go to hapifilm.com and purchase your tickets. We'll see you there Sunday, September 26th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit. Be sure to register for the new 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Like I said, class number 1 started up on Saturday, September 11th. As soon as you register, you can watch it, because we do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can see me. I can't see you, so you don't have to worry about me seeing you or anything, or having to, get dressed for the class or anything like that. You can ask questions in class. We have a live text chat also, so you can ask questions. Now, some of the things that we talked about in class 1. So each class we go through and analyze an approximately 10-year period of history to see what happened to us after slavery ended. What were the laws and policies put in place, reversing gains that we made during Reconstruction, things like this. So in class number 1, we start with events that lead up to the Civil War taking place. Civil War is 1861 to 1865. So in class number 1, some of the things we discussed were events leading up to the Civil War taking place. We talked about the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 and how that increased the need for more African slaves. The U.S. gets 828,000 square miles of land from France. And this is going to basically double the territory of the U.S. and increase the need for enslaved African labor in some of those states where they're going to have slaves. We talked about Texas becoming a state in the Union and Texas winning its independence from Mexico in 1836. Texas becoming a state in the Union in 1845. It comes into the Union, comes into the United States as a slave-holding state. We deal with manifest destiny and the Europeans here in the United States thinking it's divine providence for them to take over the entire North American continent, spread democracy and capitalism, and take over this land. We deal with the Mexican-American War of 1846-1848, which is really dealing with the U.S. wanting to take over the North American continent and take land from Mexico. It deals with a territorial dispute. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848, which ends the Mexican-American War, and the U.S. gets Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Utah, and Nevada from Mexico. We get all that land for about $15 million as a result of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And because of this land coming in, becoming territory of the U.S., then this leads to the Compromise of 1850. And the Compromise of 1850 consists of 5 bills. A lot of that has to do with regulating the territory that's coming into the Union, and whether they're going to have, slaves and things like that, whether it's going to be a slave-holding state or not. But one of the most important bills is the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which is part of the Compromise of 1850. And this intensifies the abolitionist movement, and it makes it more dangerous for runaway slaves who are up north. Okay. The sheriffs can deputize white people to go capture these runaway slaves. It removes habeas corpus. It removes their right to have a jury trial, and they can just be captured and turned back over to their slave owners and taken back to the South. So this causes more runaway slaves to go into Canada. That is the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. We talked about that as well. We talked about the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which dealt with whether it left it up to the people moving into those westward territories, Kansas, Nebraska, things like this. It left it up to them whether or not they would have slavery in those territories, as opposed to it being dictated to them by the federal government. And we also talked about Bleeding Kansas, about 1854, 1855. Bleeding Kansas, which was armed conflict between pro-slavery and anti-slavery groups in Kansas, Bleeding Kansas. So that's some of what we talked about in class number 1. So as soon as you register, you can watch class number 1. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there, and also we posted the link here as well. And then also we have for the other class I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We have a new session of this starting up. This is going to be on Sunday, September 19th. I pushed it back a week. It's going to be Sunday, September 19th, class number 1, 10-week online course. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. This is going to be 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Class number 1 will start up Sunday, September 19th, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As soon as you register, this bonus content you can watch. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com to register for that class also. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, peace. Thanks for joining us today.